I am Martha Wilson, 67 years old. And never in all my years did I imagine serving my only son Bradley a letter ending his financial support instead of dinner. As a widow battling fibromyalgia, I had supported my 38-year-old son for decades, even as he dismissed my chronic pain as fake. When he demanded I stop faking illness and cook for him that Tuesday afternoon, something inside me finally broke. The maternal instinct to protect transformed into the wisdom to stop enabling. Where are you watching from today? Let me know in the comments, and please subscribe if my story resonates with your own family struggles. The path that led to that pivotal moment at my dining room table began decades earlier. I spent 40 years as a dedicated nurse at Memorial Hospital, often working double shifts to provide for my family. My husband Thomas and I built a modest but comfortable life in our suburban home. We raised Bradley, our only child, with all the love and care we could muster. Thomas passed away 8 years ago from a sudden heart attack. His death shattered our family dynamic. He had always been the disciplinarian, the one who enforced boundaries with Bradley. Without Thomas as the counterbalance to my nurturing tendencies, my relationship with our son shifted dramatically. As a child, Bradley showed remarkable brightness. His kindergarten teacher Maureen called him a natural leader. His elementary school principal suggested advanced classes. But alongside his intelligence came an entitled attitude that worsened as he grew older. Bradley expected praise for minimal effort and solutions to materialize without his involvement. College should have been his launching pad into adulthood. Instead, it became a revolving door. He attended State University first, dropping out after 3 semesters, claiming the professors didn't understand his learning style. I encouraged him to try again at Westview Community College. Another failure. His third attempt at Riverdale Arts Institute ended when he decided the curriculum wasn't aligned with his creative vision. Each abandoned path came with financial consequences. Tuition payments wasted, apartment leases broken, textbooks barely opened. And each time I opened my checkbook and heart, believing his next venture would be different. The pattern continued into his 30s. There was the organic coffee shop he wanted to open until he discovered the early morning hours required. The tech startup that fizzled when coding proved too restrictive for his thinking. The luxury dog walking service abandoned after rainy days became too unpleasant. Through it all, my financial support remained constant. I paid $2,400 monthly for his luxury apartment overlooking the river. His business expenses required another $1,000 allowance. Car payments for his German import sedan totaled $650 monthly, plus insurance. When credit card debt mounted, I liquidated investments to bail him out 3 times. I justified each expense with maternal rationalizations. He just needs time to find his path. He inherited his father's entrepreneurial spirit, but needs more time to channel it. Once he finds his passion, everything will fall into place. 5 years after Thomas passed, my own health began deteriorating. The diagnosis came after months of increasing pain. Fibromyalgia, complicated by advancing arthritis. Suddenly, the caregiver needed care herself. The double shifts that once seemed manageable became impossible. I retired earlier than planned, transitioning to a fixed income from my pension and Thomas's life insurance investments. Bradley's reaction to my diagnosis revealed the troubling depth of our dysfunctional relationship. Initially, he expressed appropriate concern, even researching treatments online. But as weeks passed and my condition persisted, his attitude shifted. My pain became inconvenient for him. If I couldn't drive across town to deliver something he needed, I wasn't trying hard enough. When fatigue prevented me from helping with his latest business idea, I was giving up too easily. By the 2nd year of my illness, Bradley openly dismissed my health struggles as exaggeration. "Mom, everyone has aches and pains at your age," he would say, waving away my explanations about chronic pain conditions. "You just need to push through it." The irony of his lecturing me about perseverance while living entirely on my support never seemed to register with him. My friends noticed the concerning dynamic long before I admitted it. Patricia, my former nursing colleague, gently questioned why Bradley needed such extensive support into his late 30s. Eleanor from my church group suggested a financial counselor to help establish boundaries. I defended Bradley to them, insisting he was simply a free spirit finding his way. Their concerned expressions said what their politeness prevented them from voicing. The truth I couldn't yet acknowledge was painfully clear to everyone else. I wasn't helping my son. I was enabling behaviors that prevented him from experiencing the necessary growth that comes from facing life's natural consequences. The year before our confrontation marked a significant decline in both my health and our relationship. My fibromyalgia symptoms intensified, with pain spreading across previously unaffected areas. Simple tasks like buttoning shirts or holding a coffee cup became daily challenges. Fatigue clouded my thinking, sometimes keeping me bedridden until noon. Dr. Lawrence, my rheumatologist, adjusted medications monthly, trying to find the right balance between pain management and side effects. The new prescription made me nauseated but dulled the pain to tolerable levels. Physical therapy with Angela twice weekly helped marginally but cost $200 per session after insurance. Massage therapy provided temporary relief, but at $80 per treatment, I limited myself to monthly appointments. While my health deteriorated, the financial strain of supporting both myself and Bradley intensified. My fixed retirement income covered basic needs, but Bradley's expenses consumed any buffer I might have maintained for emergencies or special circumstances. The property taxes increased 12% that year. The roof developed a leak requiring immediate attention. The aging water heater finally gave out during December's coldest week. Each new expense required painful calculations. Should I delay my medication refill to cover Bradley's car insurance? Could I stretch my grocery budget another week to help with his rent? These were choices no mother should face, yet I confronted them monthly. Bradley seemed oblivious to these sacrifices. His demands actually increased as my resources dwindled. His apartment management raised the rent by $300, which he immediately passed to me without considering alternative housing. When his car needed repairs costing $1,700, he expected same-day payment. The regular requests for extra money beyond his allowance grew more frequent, accompanied by less explanation. The most alarming request came 6 months before our breaking point. Bradley called unusually enthusiastic about a guaranteed investment opportunity, requiring $15,000. He needed the money within 48 hours to secure his position. When I hesitantly asked for details, he became evasive, claiming I wouldn't understand the technical aspects of this revolutionary approach. Gathering unusual courage, I suggested we discuss this over dinner, perhaps with some documentation I could review. His voice immediately chilled. "I thought you would trust me by now," he said. "After everything, you still treat me like a child." The conversation devolved from there. His accusations ranged from my controlling nature to my inability to recognize a brilliant opportunity. When I gently reminded him about previous ventures with similar promises, he hung up. 3 days of tense silence followed before he called again, never mentioning the investment opportunity. I later discovered from his cousin Vanessa that others had declined to participate in what appeared to be a questionable cryptocurrency scheme. This incident sparked uncomfortable reflection. The mental gymnastics required to justify his behavior became increasingly difficult. The voice in my head questioning my choices grew louder, sounding remarkably like Thomas. My late husband had wanted to establish clear expectations when Bradley first dropped out of college. "We need to let him face reality," he had argued. My counterarguments about patience and different developmental timelines had prevailed. Now I wondered if Thomas had been right all along. My enabling affected not just Bradley but limited my own life significantly. The house repairs continued to wait despite worsening conditions. The bathroom faucet dripped constantly. The back steps needed reinforcement. The ancient furnace made concerning noises each winter. Most painful was canceling my planned visit to my sister Doris in Florida. We had organized this trip to celebrate her 70th birthday and my retirement simultaneously. When Bradley needed $4,000 for back rent, he had forgotten to mention, my travel fund disappeared. Doris understood but couldn't hide her disappointment during our video calls. The photos she sent from the celebration highlighted my absence in family pictures. My friend Patricia became increasingly direct in her concerns. Over coffee at her kitchen table, she shared her own experience with her daughter Melanie, who had developed similar dependent patterns. It took Melanie living in her car for 2 weeks before she finally took responsibility, Patricia explained. It broke my heart, but those 2 weeks changed her life. Sometimes love means allowing natural consequences. I nodded politely but inwardly rejected the comparison. Bradley's situation was different, I told myself. He just needed more time to find his path. He was sensitive, creative. The world wasn't designed for people like him. But as I drove home from Patricia's house, passing Bradley's luxury apartment building, uncomfortable questions surfaced. Was I actually helping him prepare for a world without me? What would happen to him when I was gone? The questions themselves felt like betrayal, but once asked, they refused to disappear. The day that changed everything began like many others during a flare-up. I awoke at 5:30 with burning pain radiating through my shoulders and hips. The simple act of pulling the blanket off required calculated movement. Standing took 3 attempts, each accompanied by involuntary gasps. Morning medication required food, but reaching the kitchen seemed impossible. I used the bedside phone to call my neighbor Shirley, who occasionally helped during bad days. Her voicemail indicated she was visiting her grandchildren in Cincinnati. Determined to manage independently, I inched toward the bathroom using the furniture for support. The mirror reflected someone I barely recognized. Dark circles underlined bloodshot eyes. My normally styled silver hair hung limp and unwashed. Even my complexion appeared gray beneath the bathroom lighting. The face looking back seemed decades older than 67. Medication and a hot shower provided minimal relief. By 11, I managed to relocate to the living room recliner with dry toast and tea. The television provided background noise while I tried focusing on anything besides the pain. The heating pad against my lower back offered temporary comfort. My physical therapy exercises seemed impossible that day. The unexpected doorbell at 1:15 sent anxiety through me. Standing required effort I wasn't sure I could manage. The second ring came with Bradley's voice calling through the mail slot. "Mom, I know you're in there. Your car's outside." With painful slowness, I maneuvered to the door, gripping the wall for support. Bradley stood on the porch wearing his designer sunglasses, scrolling through his phone. He barely looked up as I opened the door. "Finally," he said, stepping past me without offering assistance. "I've been calling all morning." My phone had remained in the bedroom, out of reach. I explained this as we moved to the living room, Bradley walking impatiently ahead while I followed at my painful pace. "Whatever," he dismissed. "Listen, I've had the worst day imaginable. The investors' meeting was a complete disaster. No one understands the potential of this concept." I lowered myself carefully into the recliner while Bradley paced, launching into detailed complaints about people who failed to recognize his brilliance. Names of potential investors I'd never heard before were described as short-sighted and conventional thinkers. His monologue continued for 20 minutes without a single question about my visible discomfort. When he finally paused, it was to glance toward the kitchen. "I haven't eaten since breakfast. Could you make that chicken dish I like? The one with the creamy sauce." The request stunned me. "Bradley, I can barely walk today. The fibromyalgia is flaring badly. I couldn't stand at the stove." His expression shifted from expectation to irritation. "Mom, come on. You're always sick when it's convenient. Every time I need something, suddenly you can't move." The accusation stung like a physical slap. "That's not true. You know I have a documented medical condition." Bradley rolled his eyes dramatically. "Everyone has something these days. My friend Jessica has fibromyalgia too, and she runs marathons. It's all about mindset. Stop faking and get up." My throat tightened with emotion. "I'm not faking anything. I wish I could cook for you, but today I just can't." His voice hardened. "After everything I went through with my childhood, you owe me this much. Dad was never around because of work, and you were always hovering but never actually supporting my dreams. The least you could do is make me lunch when I need it." This revisionist history of his privileged upbringing rendered me momentarily speechless. Thomas had attended every baseball game, every school event. I had volunteered in classrooms, driven carpools, created elaborate birthday celebrations. We had provided everything from private tutoring to summer camps designed to nurture his interests. Before I could formulate a response, Bradley delivered his ultimatum. If you can't be there for me when I need support, why should I keep visiting? I have better things to do than watch you play the victim." He stormed out, slamming the door with such force that the nearby picture frames rattled. The sound echoed through the house, followed by devastating silence. Alone again, tears came freely. Not the gentle weeping of sadness, but body-shaking sobs that intensified the physical pain. The convergence of emotional and physical agony felt unbearable. The person I had sacrificed everything for believed I was faking illness for attention or convenience. The ringing phone interrupted my breakdown 2 hours later. Bradley's name flashed on the caller ID. Against better judgment, I answered. "I need you to order delivery for me," he said without greeting. "The business meeting drained my accounts and I'm starving. Just use your credit card to order from Imperial Garden. You can get whatever you want too." The casual expectation after his earlier behavior broke something fundamental inside me. The realization crystallized with perfect clarity. Nothing would ever be enough. No sacrifice, no support, no love would fill the bottomless need Bradley had developed through years of enablement. "I can't do that today," I replied, my voice surprisingly steady. "Seriously? You're still playing this game?" His exasperation carried through the phone. "Fine. I'll remember this the next time you need something from me." The call ended abruptly. I sat holding the silent phone, recognizing the interaction for what it truly was. Emotional manipulation I had allowed for far too long. Sleep eluded me that night. Every position increased pain somewhere else. But beyond the physical discomfort, my mind refused to quiet. Memories spanning decades played like a documentary of enabling behavior. Bradley at 12 refusing to complete a school project, with me staying up all night to finish it for him. Bradley at 16 crashing the car Thomas bought him, receiving a replacement within weeks. Bradley at 22, quitting his first job after 3 days because his supervisor disrespected him by requesting he arrive on time. Thomas had tried establishing consequences. "He needs to learn life's lessons now, under our roof, before the stakes get higher," he would argue. My counterarguments always centered on protecting Bradley's confidence, nurturing his unique qualities. Thomas eventually yielded to avoid family conflict, but his concerned expressions haunted my sleepless night. By morning, exhaustion brought unusual clarity. I called Susan Palmer, my financial advisor, requesting an urgent appointment. She accommodated me that afternoon. Susan's office provided a neutral space to examine hard truths. Spreadsheets displayed the alarming reality of my financial situation. At current spending levels, my retirement savings would deplete entirely within 7 years. Medicare covered only a portion of my increasing medical expenses. The house needed approximately $30,000 in deferred maintenance. "Martha, I've been concerned about these withdrawals for Bradley," Susan said gently. "You're sacrificing your long-term security." "I know," I admitted, perhaps the first time I'd acknowledged this reality aloud. Susan presented projections with and without Bradley's expenses. The contrast was shocking. Without supporting him, my modest savings could sustain me comfortably through my expected lifetime, even accounting for increasing medical costs. With his current level of support, financial insecurity loomed within a decade. From Susan's office, I drove directly to Patricia's house. My oldest friend listened without judgment as I recounted Bradley's behavior and my sleepless realizations. "It sounds like you've reached your turning point," Patricia said. "I remember mine with Melanie. It feels terrible but also freeing, doesn't it?" She shared more details about her daughter's journey from dependency to self-sufficiency. The transition had been painful for both but ultimately transformative. Melanie now managed her own apartment, held a stable job, and had recently started classes toward an accounting degree. Their relationship, initially fractured by Patricia's boundary setting, had eventually strengthened through mutual respect. "The hardest part was accepting that my help was actually hurting her," Patricia explained. "Every time I rescued Melanie, I sent the message that she couldn't handle life without me. That's a terrible message to send someone you love." That evening, I researched adult dependency and enabling parents. Articles and forum discussions described situations painfully similar to mine. Expert advice consistently emphasized the same message: Enabling behavior hurts both parties. True help sometimes requires allowing natural consequences, even when those consequences involve temporary hardship. Over the next week, a plan took shape. I consulted Dr. Reynolds, a family therapist recommended by Patricia. Our 90-minute session provided framework for establishing healthy boundaries. She emphasized that my motivation wasn't punishment, but allowing Bradley the dignity of adult responsibility. Many parents in your situation feel guilty for setting boundaries, Dr. Reynolds explained. But consider that your current approach denies Bradley the opportunity to experience his own capability. The greatest gift you can give him now is believing he can support himself. The practical aspects required careful consideration. My nephew Richard, a corporate attorney, helped draft a formal letter outlining the termination of financial support. The document established a 3-month transition period, providing reasonable time for Bradley to arrange alternative housing, transportation, and income sources. The letter detailed current monthly support totaling $5,050, encompassing rent, car payment, insurance, phone bill, credit card minimum payments, and direct cash allowance. A clear timeline specified graduated reductions. 75% support for month 1, 50% for month 2, 25% for month 3, and 0 thereafter. Richard recommended including referrals to employment resources, affordable housing options, and financial counseling services. This demonstrates your intention isn't abandonment, but transition to independence, he explained. It could be important if he attempts to challenge this legally, though that's unlikely to succeed. The plan included practical self-protection as well. I transferred my remaining investments to a new account at a different institution where Bradley had no connection. I changed passwords on all financial accounts. I documented all previous financial support with meticulous records of transfers and payments. Emotional preparation proved equally important. Dr. Reynolds helped me anticipate manipulation tactics Bradley might employ. Anger, guilt, health concerns, exaggerated crises, promises of change, or attempts to divide family members against me. We developed response scripts for each scenario. When faced with anger, I would calmly restate my position without defensiveness. For guilt tactics, I prepared statements acknowledging my contribution to the unhealthy dynamic, while maintaining the necessity of change. For health concerns, I would express appropriate care while maintaining boundaries. Most importantly, I established a support network for the difficult transition ahead. Patricia agreed to be my accountability partner. My sister Doris offered daily phone check-ins. My church group leader Victoria promised prayers and encouragement. Dr. Reynolds scheduled bi-weekly sessions to navigate emotional challenges. The final evening before implementing my plan, I sat alone in the living room, looking at family photographs. Bradley's graduation portrait, his smile confident and bright with promise. A family vacation at the beach when he was 10, building elaborate sand castles with Thomas. His first business venture at age 8. A lemonade stand I had secretly subsidized by purchasing most of the inventory myself. Tears came, but different from before. Not desperate sobs but gentle mourning for the relationship I had hoped for. The son I had imagined watching mature into responsible adulthood. The grief felt necessary, cleansing, a final release of illusions before embracing difficult reality. I placed the termination letter in an envelope, then inside a folder. Tomorrow would change everything between us. The thought terrified me, but for the first time in years, it also offered hope that both Bradley and I might find healthier paths forward. 3 days passed without contact from Bradley. On the 4th day, Thursday afternoon, his distinctive car horn sounded from the driveway. The familiar 2 short beeps had always announced his arrival without the courtesy of advance notice. I had prepared for this moment. The letter waited in its folder on the sideboard. The dining table was set for 2 with the good china Thomas and I had received as wedding gifts. A simple meal of store-bought rotisserie chicken and prepared sides waited in the kitchen, requiring minimal effort for my still aching body. Bradley entered without knocking, his manner suggesting our previous interaction had been forgotten or dismissed. He carried a small bakery box, his version of a peace offering. "Brought those almond cookies you like," he announced, placing them on the counter without looking directly at me. "Thought you might want something sweet." The casual return without acknowledgement of his previous behavior was typical. Throughout his life, Bradley had operated on the assumption that minor gestures erased major transgressions. A child's drawing excused a destroyed household item. A teenager's brief help with groceries balanced weeks of neglected responsibilities. An adult's token gift compensated for extraordinary financial demands. "Thank you for the cookies," I replied evenly. "I've prepared dinner. Would you like to sit down?" His eyebrows raised slightly at my composed demeanor. Usually after our conflicts, I demonstrated excessive gratitude for any reconciliation attempt, eager to restore harmony at any cost. Today's measured response clearly surprised him. "Sure, I could eat," he said, shrugging off his designer jacket and draping it across a kitchen chair. "I actually have good news about a potential contract. This guy Jackson might bring me on as a consultant for his tech startup." I nodded politely while serving the food, allowing him to elaborate on this latest prospect. The details sounded vague and familiar, reminiscent of previous opportunities that materialized briefly before dissolving. Bradley filled the conversation with industry jargon that obscured the actual business model. Once seated at the dining table, Bradley continued his monologue between bites, occasionally checking his phone for messages. I waited until he paused to take a drink. "Bradley, there's something important we need to discuss," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. He glanced up briefly. "Yeah, okay, but let me finish telling you about this Jackson guy first. So his venture capital connections are seriously impressive." "Please," I interrupted gently. "This is important." Something in my tone finally registered. His expression shifted from casual dismissal to cautious attention. I reached for the folder on the sideboard and carefully placed it beside his plate. "What's this?" he asked, napkin still tucked into his collar. "It's something you should read now," I replied. He opened the folder with casual curiosity that quickly transformed. His expression cycled through confusion to disbelief to dawning comprehension as he scanned the document. Color drained from his face, followed by a rising flush of anger. The transformation reminded me of his childhood tantrums, the same progression from shock to rage when denied something he considered rightfully his. "What the hell is this?" he demanded, dropping the letter onto his plate, where gravy immediately stained the corner. "It's exactly what it appears to be," I answered calmly, drawing on the practiced responses from my sessions with Dr. Reynolds. "A formal notification that I'm ending financial support over the next 3 months." Bradley stared as though I had suddenly started speaking a foreign language. "This is a joke, right? Some kind of weird test." "It's not a joke. It's a decision I've made after careful consideration." His incredulous expression hardened. "You can't just cut me off. I have commitments, plans based on your support." The 3-month transition period should allow sufficient time to make alternative arrangements, I explained, gesturing toward the letter. "I've included resources for employment assistance, affordable housing options, and financial counseling." Bradley pushed back from the table, chair legs scraping against hardwood. "I don't need resources. I need my mother to not suddenly abandon me. After everything I've done for this family." The claim was so disconnected from reality that it momentarily stunned me into silence. Bradley had contributed nothing to family finances since high school summer jobs. His occasional help around the house came reluctantly and required extensive praise. "This is because I called you out on the fake sick routine, isn't it?" he continued, voice rising. "One moment of honesty from me, and you completely overreact." "This isn't about any single incident," I replied, maintaining composure despite my racing heart. "This is about establishing a healthier relationship for both of us. I've enabled dependency that's prevented you from developing your own capabilities." "Enabled?" he repeated incredulously. "I've been working my ass off trying to establish myself. You have no idea the pressure I'm under." "I understand building a career takes time," I acknowledged. "But you're 38 years old, Bradley. At your age, your father had established his business, purchased our home, and was raising you. So that's it? I'm just some disappointment because I don't fit into your conventional success timeline." His voice cracked slightly. "I thought you were the one person who understood I'm different, that I need time to find my path." The guilt tactic struck its intended target. Doubt flickered briefly through my resolve. Had I failed to recognize some unique quality that required extended support? Was I applying unfair standards to someone truly exceptional? Dr. Reynolds' voice echoed in memory. Expect moments of doubt. Remember that genuinely exceptional people rise to challenges rather than avoid them. I do understand you're unique, I said carefully, which is why I believe you're fully capable of supporting yourself. I've denied you that opportunity by handling everything for you. Bradley's tactical approach shifted. You know what? Fine. I don't need your money. I never have. Jackson's deal will more than cover everything. I was just letting you help because I knew it made you feel useful. The transparent attempt at reverse psychology might have worked months earlier. Today it only reinforced my resolve. I'm glad to hear about your confidence in this opportunity, I replied sincerely. Realizing this approach wasn't working, Bradley abruptly changed tactics again. What will people think when they hear you've thrown your only son out into the street? Have you considered how this will look? I'm not throwing you out, I corrected. I'm transitioning from financial support to emotional support. There's a significant difference. His expression darkened further. You never loved me. Not really. This proves what I've always suspected. The accusation, designed to wound deeply, landed with surprising softness. The manipulation tactic was too transparent, too desperate to penetrate my newfound clarity. I love you enough to stop enabling behaviors that prevent your growth, I said quietly. True love isn't just providing comfort. Sometimes it's providing necessary challenge. Bradley stood abruptly, sending his water glass toppling. Liquid spread across the tablecloth while he made no move to help contain it. You'll regret this, he stated flatly. When you're old and alone needing help, don't call me. You've made your choice. I hope that won't be the case, I replied, dabbing at the spreading water with my napkin. I hope we can build a healthier relationship based on mutual respect rather than financial dependency. Mutual respect? He scoffed. You ambushed me with this formal termination letter like I'm some employee being fired. Where's the respect in that? Would you have preferred a casual conversation? When I've tried discussing finances before, you've shut down those conversations immediately. His silence acknowledged this truth. Previous attempts at financial boundaries had indeed been immediately deflected or dismissed. This is really happening, he stated, reality finally penetrating. You're actually cutting me off. I'm changing our relationship, I corrected gently. Not ending it. Bradley gathered his jacket with deliberate movements. No, you're ending it. That's your choice. He moved toward the door with rigid posture. The dramatic exit paused only for his parting statement. Don't expect me to forgive this betrayal. The door slammed with finality, followed by screeching tires as he accelerated away from the house. The dining room fell silent except for the ticking grandfather clock that had belonged to Thomas's parents. I remained seated, surveying the abandoned meal and overturned glass. The confrontation had unfolded almost exactly as Dr. Reynolds had predicted. The anger, the accusations, the attempts at manipulation, the dramatic exit designed to punish through withdrawal of affection. Mixed emotions washed through me. Grief for the relationship damage, fear for Bradley's well-being, doubt about my decision. But beneath these swirled an unexpected emotion. Relief. The truth had finally been spoken. Reality acknowledged. The pretense of healthy support replaced with honest recognition of unhealthy dependence. I cleared the table methodically, wrapping leftovers Bradley would normally have taken. By 9:30, my phone began chiming with text notifications. I hope you're satisfied with yourself. You've ruined everything with Jackson's deal. Needed that rent money. What am I supposed to tell people about why my own mother abandoned me? Each message attempted a different emotional lever. By midnight, the text shifted tone dramatically. I'm sorry if I've disappointed you. Please, can we talk about this again? I think I overreacted. I have some ideas for how I can be more independent if you'll just help a little longer. The midnight voicemail captured the desperation. Mom, please call me back. I don't know what I'll do. I can't lose my apartment. My car. Everything. Please. I'll do better. I promise. I listened twice before deleting the message. The promises sounded sincere but echoed dozens of similar promises over the years, each broken when the immediate crisis passed. This cycle of crisis, promise, temporary improvement, and return to dependency had defined our relationship for too long. Sleep came easier that night despite the emotional turbulence. The truth, however painful, brought its own peculiar peace. The hardest step had been taken. Now came the challenging journey of maintaining boundaries, while remaining open to genuine change. The first month following our confrontation brought complete silence from Bradley. No calls, no texts, no unexpected visits. The absence created a strange mixture of worry and unexpected freedom. Mornings began without anxiety about potential financial demands. Evenings ended without emotional manipulation tactics. The quiet house, once lonely, gradually became peaceful. My physical health responded to the reduced stress. Fibromyalgia flares decreased in both frequency and intensity. Dr. Lawrence noted my blood pressure had normalized for the first time in years. The constant tension headaches diminished. Even my sleep patterns improved, allowing more restful nights. Despite these positive changes, guilt surfaced regularly. During a particularly difficult evening, I called Patricia in tears. "I keep wondering if I've done something unforgivable," I confessed. "What if he's truly struggling? What if this pushes him toward something destructive?" Patricia listened patiently before responding. "Those are normal concerns, Martha. I had the same thoughts about Melanie. But ask yourself this. Was the path he was on before healthy? Were you actually helping or just postponing necessary growth?" Her questions echoed my conversations with Dr. Reynolds, who assured me these doubts were normal parts of the boundary-setting process. "Guilt comes from genuine love and concern," she explained during our session. "Acknowledge it without letting it control your decisions." The first test of my resolve came unexpectedly through family channels. My cousin Jennifer called one Tuesday evening, her voice unusually hesitant. "Martha, I'm not sure how to approach this," she began. "Bradley contacted us yesterday. He said there was some misunderstanding between you two, and he's facing eviction unless he can get $2,700 by Friday." The familiar emergency pattern emerged exactly as predicted. Bradley had always maintained connections with extended family members, particularly those unaware of his history. Jennifer had limited interaction with him as an adult, and remembered him primarily as the charming child from family gatherings. "I appreciate you calling me," I replied carefully. "There wasn't a misunderstanding. I've made a deliberate decision to stop financial support after decades of enabling dependent behavior." Bradley received formal notification with a 3-month transition period and resources for employment assistance. Jennifer's surprised silence spoke volumes. "Oh, I see. He described it very differently." "I imagine he did," I acknowledged without elaboration. After our conversation, Jennifer reached out to other family members who had received similar requests. This prompted my sister Doris to suggest a family meeting via video call to ensure everyone understood the situation. The Sunday afternoon call included Doris, Jennifer, my brother-in-law Frank, and cousins Margaret and Wayne. I explained the situation simply, without demonizing Bradley or over-justifying my decision. Each family member shared similar stories of Bradley's financial requests over years, creating a pattern none had fully recognized individually. "I received 3 calls last year about temporary emergencies," Wayne admitted. "I had no idea everyone else was getting the same calls." The family united in supporting my boundary setting while agreeing to offer Bradley non-financial assistance if he demonstrated genuine effort toward independence. Margaret, a human resources director, offered to review his resume. Frank, who managed apartment buildings, suggested affordable housing options. The collective response provided unexpected validation for my difficult decision. 6 weeks after our confrontation, Bradley appeared unannounced at my door one Saturday morning. His appearance showed subtle changes. The designer clothes had been replaced with simpler attire. The luxury watch was missing from his wrist. His hair lacked the professional styling he had previously maintained. "Can I come in?" he asked without greeting. I nodded, stepping aside. The familiar living room seemed to emphasize the changed dynamic between us. Bradley remained standing, declining my offer of coffee. I want to know how you could do this to your only son, he began, anger evident beneath forced calm. After everything we've been through together. After I've been there for you through your health issues. The revisionist history continued, painting himself as the supportive son navigating an unreasonable mother's sudden betrayal. I listened without interruption, noting how differently we perceived the same relationship history. When he finally paused, I responded calmly. I understand you're angry and hurt. This change is difficult for both of us. But I maintain that it's necessary for both our well-being. Necessary? He repeated incredulously. I lost my apartment. I had to sell my car. I'm staying on Jason's couch. How is any of that necessary? I'm sorry you're experiencing hardship, I said sincerely. The resources I provided included affordable housing options and employment assistance. Have you explored those? His expression shifted slightly, the first crack in righteous indignation. Eva. I'm looking at some possibilities. Jason knows someone at his company who might have an opening. This small admission represented significant movement. Previously, employment opportunities had been dismissed as beneath his talents or insufficiently aligned with his vision. That sounds promising, I encouraged. What kind of position? Entry-level customer service, he admitted reluctantly. Nothing special. Probably boring as hell. It's a start, I offered. Many successful careers begin with entry-level positions. Bradley paced the living room, internal conflict visible in his expression. This isn't how my life was supposed to go. I had plans, ideas that could have been something special with the right backing. Those ideas might still develop, I suggested. But financial stability might provide the foundation to pursue them more effectively. Our conversation continued for nearly an hour, oscillating between accusation and reluctant acknowledgement of reality. Bradley revealed more details about his current circumstances than intended. The luxury apartment was indeed gone, replaced by temporary lodging with his friend Jason. The German sedan had been sold to cover outstanding debts. His expensive wardrobe had been partially sold through online marketplaces. These difficult adjustments represented the natural consequences I had previously shielded him from. While painful to witness, they also represented necessary steps toward potential growth I had previously prevented. As Bradley prepared to leave, he paused at the door. I'm still angry about this, he stated. But I'm looking at that customer service job. Interview on Tuesday. The admission carried more significance than any promise of change from our previous interactions. This represented action rather than words, reality rather than manipulation. I hope it goes well, I replied sincerely. I'm here if you want to talk about it afterward. My therapy sessions with Dr. Reynolds intensified during this period. We focused on managing guilt while maintaining healthy boundaries. She helped me recognize the difference between enabling and appropriate parental support. You can celebrate his positive steps without immediately providing financial rescue, she emphasized. Encouragement, emotional support, even practical advice are appropriate. Money transfers, solving problems he should solve himself, or shielding him from natural consequences are not. This framework helped navigate the evolving relationship. When Bradley texted about his successful interview, I responded with genuine congratulations. When he complained about the modest starting salary, I sympathized without offering to supplement his income. When he described the cramped apartment he found within his new budget, I offered household items from storage rather than rent assistance. Each interaction required careful consideration. Was this response supportive or enabling? Was I honoring his adult autonomy or slipping into rescue mode? The questions became my constant companions, guiding decisions large and small. Bradley's progress came in unpredictable waves. 2 steps forward might be followed by 1 step back. He secured the customer service position, but missed work during the first month for dubious reasons. He found affordable housing but complained constantly about its limitations. He established a basic budget but still occasionally requested loans. I gently declined. The most encouraging development came unexpectedly during month 3. Bradley called to ask about meal planning on a limited budget. The question itself represented a fundamental shift from entitlement to practical problem solving. I'm trying to figure out how to make groceries last the whole week, he explained. Everything goes bad before I can use it, or I run out by Thursday. We discussed simple cooking techniques, strategic grocery shopping, and meal preparation basics. The conversation lacked drama or manipulation, just practical exchange between adults. For perhaps the first time, I experienced the relationship I had always wanted with my adult son. Mutual respect without unhealthy dependency. 1 year passed since that pivotal dinner when I served Bradley the termination letter instead of simply yielding to his demands. The anniversary prompted reflection on how significantly our lives had changed. My health improved beyond medical expectations. Dr. Lawrence reduced my pain medication by 30% while maintaining comfort levels. The wheelchair I had begun considering unnecessary. The home health aide visits Patricia had suggested never materialized. While fibromyalgia remained a daily reality, it no longer dominated every aspect of life. Financial stability transformed my daily experience. Home repairs finally received attention. The leaking bathroom faucet got replaced. The damaged back steps received professional reinforcement. The ancient furnace gave way to an efficient modern system. Each improvement represented self-care I had previously sacrificed for Bradley's supposed needs. Most significant was the trip to Florida, rescheduled to celebrate Doris's 71st birthday. 2 weeks with my sister restored our connection while providing respite from northern winter. The photos from this celebration showed a smiling, engaged woman barely recognizable as the exhausted person absent from the previous year's gathering. Bradley's transformation proved equally significant, though following a different trajectory. The initial customer service position lasted 4 months before he secured a marketing assistant role at the same company. While entry-level, the position better utilized his communication skills and creative thinking. His housing situation stabilized with a modest 1-bedroom apartment in a safe but unglamorous neighborhood. The furnishings came from second-hand stores rather than design showrooms. Transportation consisted of public transit and an aging Japanese compact purchased with his own savings. These external changes reflected deeper internal development. Bradley gradually recognized the connection between choices and consequences. Budget constraints became accepted reality rather than personal affronts. Work responsibilities were met consistently rather than abandoned when inconvenient. Thanksgiving marked a symbolic milestone in our evolving relationship. Bradley accepted my invitation with unexpected additions. I'll bring sweet potato casserole. Found an easy recipe online. The gesture itself communicated volumes. Previously, Bradley contributed nothing to family gatherings beyond his presence, which he considered sufficient gift. The homemade dish, while imperfectly executed, represented genuine effort toward reciprocity. Our dinner conversation revealed further growth. Bradley discussed work challenges without blaming others for difficulties. He mentioned a community college course in digital marketing he planned to take the following semester. He asked thoughtful questions about my activities rather than dominating discussion with his concerns. The evening included uncomfortable moments alongside progress. Bradley's occasional comments revealed lingering resentment about financial independence. References to when things were easier suggested partial acceptance, rather than complete embrace of adult responsibility. The transformation remained ongoing rather than complete. The most profound moment came unexpectedly, while washing dishes together afterward. Bradley handed me a plate to dry, avoiding eye contact while speaking. "I was really angry for a long time," he said quietly. "I thought you were punishing me or trying to control me, but I think maybe you were right. I needed to figure some things out on my own." The admission, delivered awkwardly without eye contact, represented more growth than any external achievement. Self-awareness had begun replacing self-justification. Responsibility had started emerging from entitlement's shadow. "It hasn't been easy," I acknowledged, accepting another wet plate. "For either of us." "I'm still figuring it out," he continued. "But I paid all my own bills last month. Every single one. First time ever." The pride in his voice echoed childhood moments of genuine achievement, innocent of manipulation or entitlement. I recognized both the boy he had been and the man he was becoming in that simple statement. "That's significant," I replied, meaning it completely. Our relationship continued evolving through regular Sunday phone calls and occasional shared meals. The financial aspect remained firmly separated from emotional connection. Bradley sometimes referenced financial challenges, but as situations he was managing rather than problems requiring my intervention. Through this journey, I discovered painful but necessary truths about maternal love. True nurturing doesn't shield adult children from natural consequences, but allows growth through necessary challenges. Real support builds capability rather than dependency. Genuine love sometimes requires allowing temporary hardship for long-term growth. The boundaries established through that difficult letter created space for something beautiful to emerge. A relationship between two adults based on mutual respect rather than financial entanglement. The transformation remains incomplete, the journey ongoing, but the direction has fundamentally changed. For parents facing similar challenges with adult children, I offer this hard-won wisdom. Enabling behavior disguised as love ultimately harms both parties. Financial support that creates dependency prevents growth rather than nurturing it. The most loving action sometimes feels the most difficult, allowing natural consequences while maintaining emotional connection. The path forward remains uncertain. Bradley continues developing independence skills most acquire in early adulthood. Our relationship navigates occasional tension between old patterns and new boundaries. The future holds no guarantees about continued progress or potential backsliding. Yet even with this uncertainty, I feel profound peace about my decision. By serving Bradley that termination letter instead of dinner when he dismissed my illness, I ultimately served something far more nourishing. The opportunity for both of us to develop healthier, more authentic versions of ourselves and our relationship. Have you ever had to make a difficult decision that felt painful but necessary for someone you love? Share your experience in the comments below. Sometimes the hardest choices lead to the most important growth for everyone involved. Please like and subscribe if this story resonated with you, and share with someone who might need to hear this message today. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember that true love sometimes means having the courage to say no.